Hi everyone, join us for the Great Chaz dinner party to shake up 3 beautiful cocktails with myself, Mina and Sanjeev. We've sent you everything that you need for the class. We're going to run through a few odd bits and pieces, few bits of equipment that you are going to need to have ready for the class that are not included inside the kit. So one piece of equipment that you will need to grab from the kitchen, guys, is a sharp knife. Any size, as long as you can slice and dice with it, sharp knife. Another thing that you're going to need, of course, for making cocktails is your ice, okay? So make sure that you've got plenty of ice, it's ready to rock, it's not hiding in the bottom drawer of the freezer, and it's just nice and accessible. We're going to roughly use about a supermarket size bag of ice for this class. However, if you're rationing on your ice, then we can, of course, use littler amounts in the cocktails. Okay, so we're going to need our ice, we're going to need our sharp knife as well.
That's what I did, which is take out a big Sputnik of ice from your freezer, and then you have to tack it for half an hour, and you find a Game Boy inside it, which is...
We were interested in those little plastic things, and then take about 20 years to get them out.
Yeah. We've had people tuning into the classes that have forgot ice and they've used frozen veg, frozen fruit, whatever they can find. So if you've got ice, that's a great start.
I've always said there's not enough sweet corn in cocktails. I've always said that.
I've got some minced lamb in there. Can I put that in?
So basically, as long as it's cold, it's going to work. Now, the equipment that you have in front of you, if you've never used it before, it's probably going to be a bit tricky to figure it out. So I'm going to run through the equipment that you have inside your kit. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we're going to solve problems as they arise. But the shaker that we're going to be using tonight is called a Boston shaker. Now, your Boston shaker consists of a glass part and a metal part. Okay, glass part and a metal part. If you haven't figured it out already, this will arrive inside your metal part. So in case you were looking for half an hour, that's where it's hiding. And when we're using the shakers, you want to set yourself up so the glass part is facing towards you, metal part directly behind. Okay? Glass part towards you, metal part behind. Now, what I do is I just switch mine around for demonstration purposes, and that's so that you guys can see what goes into my glass. Okay? Now, the reason we put the ingredients in the glass part is because most people can't see through metal. So you want to basically see the ingredients as they're going in the glass so that before we shake, we can quite clearly see, hey, something's missing. Okay? Now,
I love that you know some people that can see through metal. That's very impressive. That's a neat thing to do.
We've got our shaker, and we also will have our single strainer. Okay? So a single strainer, which looks like this. This is often called a Hawthorne strainer as well. It's got 4 points and a spring, as you can see. So 4 points and a spring. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea what this is going to be used for?
For straining things.
Nice.
I was going to use it. This is my dog. Yeah, straining. I don't know spring spring though.
So this is quite handy. It sits directly on top of the metal part, so it fits nice and snug. Springs always faces down, like so. Yeah. Okay, nice and easy.
What do the springs do?
So the springs help it sit in place. It gives it a bit of weight, and it also catches the thinner pieces of ice too.
I see.
So we can actually throw this to one side because we don't need it yet. Okay, so you can keep that, don't confuse yourselves, keep it to one side just now. And the next piece of equipment that you're going to find inside your kit is your jigger measure, okay? So your jigger measure, and the measures that we're using today are a 25 mil and a 50 mil. So that's a standard double and single. The best way to remember this is that the 50 mil is our favorite side, and that's the biggest side, and yes, the smaller side is the 25 mil, and that's a single. Okay.
So if I do this with my tequila and put it in the 50,
yeah,
that's quite a big shot, isn't it?
That is a very big shot.
Is that? I'll just demonstrate for the people at home.
Demonstrate that for us, just so we know.
That takes a good 4 seconds. Cheers, everyone.
So we do actually need you in a fit state to finish the class. So maybe if we take it a bit easier.
We factored in 10 minutes for her to get a kebab on the way home.
Yeah. Well, as long as it's before 10 o'clock.
So, Mina's tested out the measure, so we now know how that works. Also have something that looks a bit like a back scratcher inside your kit, okay? So it's not actually a back scratcher, although it does work pretty well. This is a bar spoon, okay? So it's got a few different uses. However, we're only going to be going through a few of its uses in the class today, okay? So this is a bar spoon, okay? Quite a funny looking thing. And the mixology set you guys have is yours to keep. So the skills that you learn in the masterclass, you're going to be able to use this and whip up your own drinks all through the week. Okay? So all we want in front of us is our shaker and our measure. You can place the spoon to one side too. Okay? Oh, and one final piece of equipment is, of course, our fire contraption. Okay?
Yes.
You'd have one of those in there. Just check that it works.
Why are you calling it a fire contraption?
Just because anything will work, you know, matches, a flamethrower, anything that will make fire will work. So this is our fire contraption.
Like 2 sticks.
2 sticks, whatever you have will work. Now, again, without going too much into common sense, when we're using the fire, if you have anything dangling from your neck, maybe a tea towel, maybe some long hair, please tuck that behind your shoulders. Point the flame away from your face.
Take that off. Jumper. That my jumper might catch fire. Oh.
So all we should have in front of us, guys, is our shaker and our measure, and then we're good to go. Now, as I said, we've got 3 cocktails, and I like to start with the trickiest cocktail. The idea is we're a bit more sober now, although, well, me and Sanjeev are. I'm not sure about Mina. And
Well, listen, I can take about 12. They'll fall over.
if we can master the first cocktail and we can pull this one off together, the remaining 2 should be an absolute breeze. Okay, so we're going to do this one. We're going to master the complex cocktail, and the remaining 2 should be a breeze. Now, the first unsuspecting ingredient that you're going to need is an egg. So if you could look out your egg for the first ingredient.
Any size egg?
One
Just a
egg.
medium egg?
Any size of egg is going to work perfectly.
Not the dragon's egg, Mina.
What about the ostrich egg that I've got outside, no?
So 1 egg is what we need for this one, okay? And if you're not familiar with egg white cocktails before, you're not going to know that we don't put the whole thing in, okay? That's not going to taste nice, and you're going to get lots of shell. What we want to do is we want to use the egg white only. The way I do it is I crack it on the edge of the glass, and then I split the shell in half. Okay, so I split the shell in half, and then I pass the yolk back and forth between the 2 parts of the shell, and that will separate your white for you. So
Like making meringues.
exactly.
Don't know how to do that.
Constant. So
You're passing it back and forth and spilling the egg white at the same time.
yeah. So you want to be very precise with your spilling. The spilling needs to go inside the glass.
Yes.
And our egg yolk.
For the second egg, just in case.
Keep your egg yolk for your breakfast tomorrow. It makes really nice scrambled eggs, or you can just throw it away.
It's very wasteful.
This genuinely, the only pudding I can make is meringue, right? And I'll do that thing of 8 egg whites, and there'll be 8 egg yolks sitting in the fridge for about 6 months before I prepare to bin them. I hate waste. They are.
If you're used to making meringues, then I think you might be a professional at this cocktail.
Oh, God.
Oh, very good. Oh, I like making meringues.
So, just to give you a little bit of information on why we're using egg white, as you've mentioned, egg whites are used in a lot of different things. So, similar to meringues, when you whisk up the meringues and you whisk them until you get this soft white peak, that's exactly what we're trying to do within the shaker here. We're going to create this lovely smooth consistency for the cocktail. So, what that means is that we're going to have to do a very special kind of shake at the end. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. But before we even think about shaking, we need to get all the ingredients in the shaker. Now, the next ingredient is another breakfast ingredient, and it is indeed orange marmalade. So grab yourself orange marmalade, crack it open, and you can use your knife to sort of help scoop it out. You want to get the entire lot.
The whole lot?
The whole lot.
In with the egg white?
Yeah, into the same part with the egg white.
Oh, it's lovely, smell that. Can you use any marmalade, you know, like any flavour? If, say, like an orange and ginger marmalade, could you use that?
Yeah, you can play around with the different flavours. However, the main flavour that we're going for in this cocktail is orange. So we want to try and use as much orange flavours as we can.
I don't think I've ever heard of marmalade in a cocktail before.
No, never.
So it brings a lot of flavour, but it also brings consistency. So you've got a lot of sort of thickness and the sort of gelatin as well. So it brings a lot of consistency to the drink. Nice.
Those people got Paddington into heroin. This was the bridge between marmalade and heroin for Paddington.
Really?
Yeah, the story.
So we should have inside our shakers egg white and orange marmalade. Now, the part that you've all been waiting for is, of course, the booze. So we're going to look for the first alcohol that we're going to put in, which is orange vermouth. Okay? Orange vermouth. Now, this has been pre-measured, so it's got 50 ml inside the bottle, which is a double shot. So orange vermouth, and you're going to put the whole bottle of orange vermouth into the shaker. Now, what I want you to do though, before we put it in, crack it open, have a little smell, even have a little taste if you're brave enough. See if it reminds you of anything.
Reminds you of Joan Collins. Classic.
I don't even want an explanation to that joke. That's quite. It's very sweet. Very. It's
Does it remind you of anything in particular?
Alcohol.
So, this is what we're using. So,
oh, I see.
Aperol is the brand. Orange.
Yeah.
So if you recognize that flavor, Aperol's got a very, very distinct flavor, and we're relying on that sort of strong flavor to come through in the cocktail here. Now, we've got 50 ml of our orange vermouth. The next alcohol that we want to do is our vodka. So grab your vodka. And this is where we want to be a bit more precise with our pouring, okay? So even if you've had a stressful week, we want to be extra careful that we're not heavy-handed pouring. We want to do just under 25 ml. So just under.
The measure, not the measure, ladies and gentlemen, that I just drank tequila from. The opposite.
The opposite side.
So just under.
So just under 25 ml, and that goes in with the rest of the ingredients.
What's your recommended vodka?
My recommended vodka. With this cocktail, you want to get something quite neutral. Often a brand that you see behind bars that are getting mixed in cocktails, particularly for cocktails, is Absolute. So it's just something that's quite good for playing around with different flavors. If you want to go for something to maybe enjoy the vodka on its own, yeah, you're maybe looking at something a bit more specialist, something like Ogilvy. I don't know if you've tried that one. No. Ogilvy vodka.
I'm not a vodka drinker at all, actually.
Yeah, it's made in Scotland, and it's a bit more of like a craft brand, and it's got this really lovely, smooth, almost creamy texture to it. So, and you can just drink that on its own. It's got a lovely, smooth taste to it, Ogilvy. If you're a vodka drinker, check out Ogilvy.
Are you a vodka drinker, Sanj?
Not especially, no. I mean, do you know, I like the look of Grey Goose. I like it when they take it out the freezer. It looks incredibly seductive. I've never actually had it before. I will.
You'll have to.
When you're mixing with vodka in your cocktails, try and go with something quite neutral, quite plain. You know, you get lots of different spirits that have got hints of what they're distilled with. So Ogilvy is distilled with potatoes. So you have quite a distinct sort of flavor coming from that vodka. This one's very neutral. So we've got our Aperol, we've got our vodka. Next up, you want to grab your sugar syrup, okay? So you have a little bottle of sugar syrup, and again, it's pre-measured, so we don't need to measure this one. We're going to put the whole bottle in, which is about 20 ml.
How much sugar is in this sugar syrup?
So it's equal parts sugar to water. That's how we make it. So equal parts sugar to water.
I'm only asking because, being Asian, our family has a propensity, firstly, not to drink, but secondly, to have like diabetic. So
really?
That's 4 teaspoons, probably, isn't it?
Yeah, is that all right? Is there a substitute for diabetics? Because there are a lot of diabetics.
You can use sort of artificial sweeteners.
Like stevia.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I'm sure you could actually make the syrup with stevia as well.
And then would you use half the amount? Because it's quite sweet.
Yeah, of course, or you could lower the amount of sugar. So, just to make sure you're following along, we should have vodka, Aperol, marmalade, egg white, and sugar syrup. That's all we should have in so far. And because we've got a lot of sweetness going on, we now need to balance that out with some citrus. So we're going to grab one of our limes, and we're going to juice half of the lime, so just half, okay? Now, I always like to just give it a little roll.
Yes.
Nice.
Ahead of you.
Give it a nice little roll and a squeeze, and then we're going to chop it in half and squeeze one half of the lime into the shaker, okay?
So chop it in half, squeeze one half into the shaker.
One half into the shaker, and try and get as much juice out. A nice little technique that I do is I squeeze and I'll twist the fruit at the same time. So I like turn the fruit between my fingers.
And you
Also,
could just use a juicer, like a citrus press.
yeah, you can use a juicer, or you can use one of these things as well. So you can actually put the lime inside this and squeeze it in.
Oh,
But
nice.
it'd be unfair if I did that and you don't have one. So we're going to squeeze.
We may have one. Have you got one of
It didn't
those?
stop you flaunting it right in our faces, though, did it? Flaunting your equipment right in front of us, making us feel inadequate.
Well, and here's one. No.
What to do
I've
is,
got like a glass one, you know, like a proper old-fashioned. Just a
oh, you can use those as well, yeah. But what you want to do is see how now you've squeezed it, the flesh is sticking out.
Yeah.
Still a lot of juice there. So run the flesh on the side of the glass, and that just gets every last drop out. And then that's us completely juiced half of the lime. Okay.
You do know that this combination would work well with tequila, don't you?
I think maybe in your instance, tequila just goes with everything.
I think it's much maligned tequila, just as a shot drink.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
It is definitely. I drink it a lot in a long drink. It's nice.
Nice.
It's ready for its day, don't you think?
I just think lime is one of the most underrated flavors and tastes in food and drink. I think it's amazing. And because we're quite used to it, I think we take it.
Ingredient, yeah. Whilst we're talking about limes, we're actually going to be using this in the next cocktail. So make sure that we keep this. We don't throw out the other half, and we keep that close by.
Yeah.
The last ingredient that we want to get inside the cocktail is some fresh orange juice. Now, the best way to get it as fresh as possible is to squeeze it yourself. But before we cut into the orange, we need to extract some skin for the garnish. So what we want to do is cut ourselves a piece of the zest, so about a width of the orange. So about a width of the orange zest. And then you're going to be left with something like this. So a piece of the zest or the skin like that, okay? And you can place this, yeah, wonderful. And you're going to place this to one side for the garnish. We don't need it right now. Place it to one side, keep it safe. And you can juice the entire orange however you find the best way into the cocktail, okay?
I've got one of these old-fashioned glass things.
Perfect.
Great.
So if you don't have a juicer, Sanjeev, what I normally do is I chop it into quarters. And I just squeeze each segment in. It's nice and easy.
So you're putting the whole of that, rest of that orange in there?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Juice. Anything fancy to be done with the...
No, just get the whole thing in. I mean, you can use already pressed orange juice from the supermarket, but using the fresh juice really just elevates that flavor. You'll really notice the difference between the two.
And it makes your kitchen smell lovely.
Yeah.
Juice with bits in?
Yeah, definitely. You would definitely want the bits in there again, because that helps with the consistency of the cocktail.
I just like saying with bits in. I don't know why.
Because it's rather sexy, that's why.
It's because it's childish. Get juice with bits in. You mean pulp? No, bit.
If you say it like that, that's not sexy, is it?
No. Yeah.
So we've now completed all of the ingredients for the Mary Jane. And what I'm going to do is, as you're drying your hands and squeezing the last of the orange, I'm going to run through the list just to make sure you have everything. So we should have Aperol or orange vermouth. We should have vodka. We should have orange juice. We should have lime juice. We should have sugar syrup. We should have marmalade. And we should have egg white. And that completes all 7 ingredients. Sound good?
Yes.
Yeah.
All good.
Now,
I'm so relaxed. I'm just walking to the same camera. So I know where I'm Zoom.
a little assistant.
What did you eat then?
Me?
Did you eat some orange then?
I ate some orange bits. There were bits in the orange. Yes, I like the pulp.
You should have got some snacks in. That would have been good.
So we're now ready to shake, guys. But remember, I said that this was one of the more complex cocktails. And the reason it's one of the most complex cocktails is because of the type of shake. So we actually have to shake this cocktail twice. And the first shake is called a dry shake, which is no ice. And then the second shake is a wet shake, and that's with ice. So dry shake, wet shake. These terms probably don't mean anything to you right now, but they will afterwards. So before we even think about shaking, especially because you've both got beautiful kitchens, we have to create the seal. If you do not create your seal with this type of equipment, it's going to build pressure and it's going to explode and go everywhere. And
No. Do I need to get the cat out?
That might be advised, yeah. It might be advised.
Not
So
coming in out. No.
the best way to create your seal with this kind of shaker is to start off step by step and to take the glass to eye level. Okay, in one hand, metal part in your opposite hand, and we're going to hover the metal part over the glass. So we're going to hover it over the glass, okay? And then from here, you're going to push it directly onto the side of the glass and then run it tight down the side of the glass. So there should be no gaps on one side and a big gap on the other. And it will look like it's on at a funny angle.
Yes.
Where's the angle, yeah.
Okay? Now, smack it on top. And that just ensures that we have our seal. Okay? And now we're going to do the sort of fail-safe test, which is to test the seal by tipping it towards the gap. Okay? But we're not just going to tip it towards the gap. We're going to tip it towards the gap over our heads. Okay? So over your head, no cheating, and tip it towards the gap.
I don't like it.
Yay!
Ah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Everyone feel your head just to make sure you've got a dry head.
Yes.
Nice.
Is that like doing the meringue test over your head?
Why does
Exactly.
my head taste of vermouth?
And just so you can visualize it a bit better,
Yes.
the gap here is where it would leak from if there was no seal. So
Yeah.
that's how you can always test your seal, okay? So give it one last bash just to make sure. And when we're shaking and using this equipment, the glass always faces the roof. So glass part always faces the roof. Hand on the bottom, squeeze. Hand on the top, squeeze. Nice firm grip. And we're going to shake up and down for 5 seconds. As hard as you can.
Do we get some musical accompaniment?
Hard as you can. Keep it going a little bit longer for you guys since you're amateurs. Keep it going.
The girl from Ipanema. Is that what you're singing? The girl from Ipanema?
Yes.
Where she's
How about
there you go.
Right, guys, that's looking good. So what we've done now is we've emulsified the egg, we've activated the egg white, and it's started to work its magic. So this can be compared to when we're whisking the meringue. That's what we're doing inside the shaker just now. And what you're going to notice is that the glass part doesn't come off very easily. So we have to do specific steps to break that seal, okay? So you're going to take the shaker and you're going to have the part with no gaps facing towards your chest.
Yeah.
Okay? So no gaps towards your chest.
Yeah.
With one hand, you're going to hold the glass and the metal side on, like this. So both parts side on, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Then from here, you're going to lift it straight up.
Yeah.
Stand a bit like a robot. And at the opposite side to where you're holding, towards the top of the metal, you're going to give it a whack with the hard part of your palm. So towards the top of the metal like this. 1, 2, 3.
On the metal, not the glass. Oh no. On the metal, not the glass?
On the metal, yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
This is where we cut and we make it look like you got it first time.
Of course I got it first. Second time is all right though, for amateurs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we now have our ingredients in the metal part this time, not in the glass part. So we're now going to get a scoop of ice and put it into the shaker. So a scoop or a handful should be enough. Remember,
that.
if you're conserving your ice, we do need it for all 3 cocktails. So maybe don't put lots and lots in. Just make sure you're rationing it out. So I'm going to put a scoop of ice into the shaker.
What have you got there in your scoop? Go on.
Like a handful.
Yeah, but everyone's got different sized hands, surely. Like that? Like 7?
Oh yeah, that looks wonderful.
Into the metal.
Into the metal.
Mina's got massive hands. She killed 3 boyfriends with her thumbs.
Since I'm going to put more in. Just purely because I've had a drink.
So do you manage to get your ice, Sanjeev?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously your liquids are in the metal part this time. We can't see what we're doing with the seal. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it the opposite way around now. We're going to run the glass on the side of the metal. So there's still no gaps on one side and a big gap on the other. And now the glass is on at a funny angle. And we still are going to give it a smack on top. Okay? And remember, you can always test your seal by tipping it towards the gap, and it would leak from there if there wasn't one. Looking good. And when we're shaking this time, it's for 3 times the length and 3 times the strength is what we did before. So we're really crushing things up. And a nice way to shake super hard is to imagine that you're throwing the shaker over one shoulder and then throwing it down with the same force. So the ice is hitting top and bottom with tremendous force. So up and down as hard as you can. And you need to try and keep a nice, straight, smiley face so you don't look like a weirdo.
That needs some kind of heavy metal or some kind of...
It's quite funny because you do look like you're stabbing someone, but with a smile on your face, smiling assassin.
How do you know if it's ready?
So what we're going to do is we're going to shake this one up until it's a nice, soft and pale orange. Looking good.
Is that soft pale orange?
What you need to look for is if you've got big lumps of marmalade at the bottom, it means that you're a bit of a weakling. So you have to shake a bit longer than everyone else. So if you've got lumps, shake it a bit more. If you've got no lumps of marmalade, then it's ready. And a nice way of telling that the cocktail's ready is that when the metal starts to build lots of condensation and it's really cold to touch.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's time to break the seal. So flip it back round. And you're going to notice now that it's a lot harder to break the seal because the metal will contract with the cold. So it's super important that we follow those steps from before to hit the sweet spot. So no gaps towards your chest.
No gaps towards your chest.
Yeah.
One hand holds both parts, side on.
Yeah.
Lift it up. Stand a bit like a robot, and then we're going to give it a whack side on. Nice.
First time.
First time.
Well done.
Look at that.
So if you've pulled it off up until now, you should notice that your cocktail has doubled in size. It's got a lot of air in there. It's whipped up, and it's looking like a real frothy consistency on top.
Yeah.
The last step to do is to choose our glass and get some fresh ice in the glass. So I would recommend for everyone at home to serve the Mary Jane in a tumbler or water glass, something with a flat base. It's going to look nice. And it's important that we get fresh ice in the glass. So if, depending on the size of glass, Sanjeev, I think you've got a slightly smaller glass than myself. So we're going for either half full with ice or just below half, just to make sure we can get the full cocktail in there.
But not half empty, because we're all optimists.
You don't want half empty, no. That looks good, Mina. That looks good. That's enough, I think. And we need to pour the Mary Jane in a very specific way because we've got quite unique consistency going on. So before we pour it into the glass, we're going to sit our single strainer so that it's facing springs down.
Yeah.
One finger gets placed on top, and then wrap your hand round.
Yeah.
And we're going to give it a nice little circular swirl. And we're going to start off pouring in the glass low and slow and gradually pull the shaker up as high as you can as you're pouring. So a nice low and slow pour, and then gradually pull the cocktail shaker up, and try and do that without spilling any on the floor. Looking good. And towards the end, guys, what you're going to want to do is encourage all that lovely foam out. If you don't quite have enough space, you might need to sip and pour. So encourage the foam by shaking it like this. So give it a good shake. Mine's already filling up fast, so I'm going to take a little sip. And even when you think there's nothing left, there will be. There'll be lots of foam. So really encourage that out.
Oh man, that's so nice.
That's lovely. Oh, that's lovely.
The foam is actually what holds a lot of the flavor. So make sure you're encouraging that out. And this is where we see where the real professionals are. The bigger the layer of foam, the bigger of a professional you are. So hold it up to the camera so we can have a little look.
I'm going to put some more in.
So often what happens is that the foam sticks inside the shaker, and you really need to work it out by rocking the shaker back and forth.
I need to have a drink.
There you are.
Nice.
Better than that.
So Remember, it's the trickiest cocktail, which means we're still not finished yet. However, have a few sips, get used to the flavor. It's got quite a unique taste. Get used to the flavor, roll it around your tongue. Taste the foam on its own as well.
Wonderful.
The foam's got different flavor to the cocktail itself.
Mm.
And now for the dangerous part of the fire.
Ooh.
Oh no.
So
Now I need to get the cat out.
the reason we need to try and remember the taste of the Mary Jane is because if we do this garnish properly, if we manage to garnish this one properly, we should alter the flavor slightly. So it is important that you truly remember how it tastes now, so you notice the difference afterwards.
Is
So
that a good head on that?
yeah, that's brilliant. Well done.
It's so nice, that, isn't it?
Very, very nice.
A good one, eh? So you guys have got one orange skin, which means you've got one chance to make it right. So what I'd recommend is watch how I do it first, and then I'll do it again along with you. So you can watch first, mimic after. So your orange skin, as you'll notice, has a slight natural curve to it. Yeah? It's a slight curve to it. And what you want to do is a little bit, sometimes it helps if I explain why we do what we do. It's going to be a bit easier. So orange skin is very much like human skin. It's got lots of pores. If you look closely, it's got lots of pores. And inside these pores is lots of flammable oil. It's extremely flammable. And what we want to do is heat the skin to extract the oil, and we're going to squeeze our fingers, which should push the oil out and catch fire. So I'm going to show you just now on my screen. We're going to take the orange, push it against its curve between two fingers, like so. And the orange skin is facing away from you. So the orange pores are facing away from you.
Yeah.
Against the curve, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the skin for a few seconds with my lighter, and then I'm going to squeeze my fingers towards the flame, and it should push a bit of a fire out. So watch my screen here. 1, 2, 3, flame.
Wait.
Okay? A nice big flame. You're going to be welcomed with a big hit of orange sort of smell and a big warmth of the flame.
So just say that again, which we already got.
So heat it and then flame, and then you're going to run around the glass, completely coat the glass, and then sit it in the drink. So just to demonstrate once more, so orange skin is here.
Yeah.
You can see the natural curve. I'm pushing it against its natural curve.
Yeah.
So the orange is facing away from me.
The orange skin, the pores on the outside.
Yeah. I'm heating the orange skin with the lighter, and then I'm squeezing the zest, and it will push the flame.
There you go. Go on, Sanj, you go.
So the most important part is that you heat it for long enough. It's 1,
He's on the outside.
3, and then flame.
Is the skin on the outside?
Yes.
It's facing away from you. Do you put the light at just in the middle?
Yes. So.
It's not happening.
It's not happening.
And don't worry, this is a sort of trick, a bar trick that can take some people years to master properly. So don't feel too disheartened.
When did your eyebrows grow back?
It's lucky that we've got somebody on our team that's really good at CGI. So
I'm going to use matches. I'm going to do it.
Look at the lighter.
Normally, what I would recommend, if you can't quite get the flame, at least mimic that sort of movement of squeezing the orange towards the drink, and you will still extract some oil.
Yeah.
But what you can do, Sanjeev, is just run it around the glass, around the rim of the glass, and then sit it in the drink. And because you've heated the skin, you're still going to have extracted some oil.
Yeah.
And the idea behind this technique is that now when we raise the glass to our mouth to taste, you're instantly welcomed with the citrus oil through the nose, sits on your tongue, and it changes the flavor slightly. Cheers.
Cheers.
I can't set it on fire, but cheers.
Mm.
Mary Jane, guys. Cheers.
That is delicious, I have to say.
That is just brilliant.
Nice.
I'm sorry we couldn't do the iron thing. Is that like degree level mixology though?
Yeah, that will take you a good few months to master that one, I think.
Man, that's so nice, isn't it?
But it is a technique worth playing around with, because especially for someone like yourself that enjoys tequila. Imagine you can master that skill of flaming the orange before you pour the tequila over your ice or into your glass. If you were to do that in the glass, flame the orange into the glass first and drop
Is it important that the slice of orange that is really thin?
It's not, you don't want a thick slice, you just want the zest, as much skin only as possible.
Much of the zest. I won't be defeated by
when you take a sip of a lovely cocktail and you swallow a pip, and you know that it's rustic. It's you made that. I made that. I squeezed that orange.
Oh, nice.
I'm very proud of myself. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you.
Yay! Look at that.
I've seen that. Well done.
And that is. I'm struggling to live a nice cocktail.
You missed it.
That is a lovely cocktail, I have to say.
That is lovely.
All the recipes that we're making on the masterclass tonight are our own creations. The Mary Jane is one that we've been serving for about 4 years. This is one of our signature serves. This is one of my personal favorites.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's a very different cocktail. It's one of these cocktails that if you were to read it on a menu on a night out, you probably wouldn't be drawn too much to it based on the ingredients, or if you were to read the ingredients. But the flavors work really well with each other. A lot of people hate Aperol, and it's usually because they've had a bad experience or somebody's used it in the wrong way. But this showcases Aperol perfectly.
And also, so it doesn't actually taste terrible if you haven't got the orange thing going on.
No.
But also, what happens if you're like a vegan?
So if you're a vegan and you still want to have this cocktail, you can use chickpea water. So open up a can of chickpeas and use the tiniest amount. I mean, even less than half a shot, like 12 ml.
Farther from the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Super easy, as long as you make sure that it's not chickpeas and brine or anything like that. Otherwise, you're going to have a horrible Mary Jane.
Which is really good in a chana pilau, which I made yesterday.
Nice.
But not good in this cocktail.
So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to give our shakers a rinse. You don't need to wash them out too much, just a little rinse to get away the flavour. The Mary Jane is actually served as an aperitif. So we would usually serve this one before a meal. It's nice to pair it with a starter or just to start your sort of evening off. And yeah, it works really well with some rosemary in there as well. So if we were serving this one up at your house, or if we were to make it for you, we'd put a bit of fresh rosemary in there and we'd heat that up until it starts to smoke. And it just brings a nice element to the drink.
I can imagine that, actually.
So if you love the Mary Jane, you're going to absolutely love the next one. But make sure your shakers are rinsed and ready to rock.
Yep.
Because
The next cocktail is called Gingers Don't Tan, okay? So it's called Gingers Don't Tan. I used to have a little bit of ginger hair myself when I was younger, and I still don't tan, so you're going to...
Also tell you that tans don't ginger, because me and Mina can tell you.
and then you're on the Zoom with
Might call that very soon. So
we need like loads of vitamin D. We'll be all right. We tan like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to need very few ingredients for this cocktail. So quite a contrast to the Mary Jane, where we did 7 ingredients and we did 2 shakes. This one is only shaken with 3 ingredients. No fancy shaking involved either. So the first ingredient that we're going to do is gin. So grab yourself some gin.
I was saying to Gregor earlier that gin really makes me very maudlin.
Does it?
Makes me
really?
It's already started, or you'd opened it. Gin makes you really more.
It really, honestly, just the thought of gin makes me want to turn the lights off and put on, I don't know.
I'm watching Vortex drama. Yeah.
Some
So
Neil
this all goes in, yeah?
Perry Como.
So this all goes in.
So we're going to put the entire bottle in, yeah. So this is a double shot again. So 50 ml of our gin.
What's your preferred gin for this?
So with this gin, because we're using some strong flavors of lime and ginger, I would normally recommend going with a gin that's distilled with some sort of dried lime leaves. So I don't know if you've ever tried one of the Tanquerays that's made with the kaffir.
Oh yeah.
That works really, really well in this cocktail. But again, any kind of gin that you've got at home, a London Dry, anything like that will work. But I personally really like the kaffir lime from Tanqueray. So we've got our 50 ml of gin. We now want to grab our raspberry syrup. So grab your raspberry syrup, and when you open this one up, have a little taste and a little smell.
Ooh, strong that.
And the nice thing about the raspberry syrup is that, have you ever heard of an ingredient called grenadine?
Yes.
Yeah.
So grenadine is something you'll find in maybe sort of your party holiday bars or a lower end cocktail bar, and it's got a very distinct artificial kind of sweetness. Whereas this stuff here is very natural. It's made with just raspberry sugar and water. So you can actually make this really easily at home. You've got sweetness from the sugar and still a little bit of sharpness from the raspberry. So the whole bottle, the whole 20 ml.
You can make a good mousse with that as well.
Never tried it myself, but
you can whip up some cream, because a mousse is just with the gelatin, make a nice mousse.
So we've got our gin, we've got our raspberry, and we're now going to do our other half of lime. So make sure, use all your muscles, get all that lime juice out. Remember the technique of running the flesh down the side. And if you can, what I quite like to do with this one is if you push the flesh hard enough against the side, you'll get bits. So you'll like this bit, Sanjeev. You'll get all that lime bits into the shaker if you can.
Bits, like bits,
Lime bits.
like bits.
So we've got gin, raspberry, and lime. 3 ingredients that go very well with each other. And remember, I said no fancy shaking. So all we're going to do is get a nice big scoop of ice into the shaker and get ready to create our seal.
Like that?
Yeah, wonderful. So remember, the best way to create your seal is the glass to eye level. Metal part in your other hand, and we're going to run it down the side of the glass, like so.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now smack it on top, give it a good whack, and it's a nice hard shake. Basically with this one, it's quite easy to shake, just trying to incorporate the syrup and mix everything together, so it'll be a nice baby or pale pink once it's finished. So that's what you're going for. Nice baby or pale pink. Shake it up, maybe a little bit longer. Perfect. And do you remember how to break the seal?
Tight and towards us.
They're down.
Back.
One hand behind your back.
Yes.
Hold the other one like that, like a robot.
Yeah. And then you're going to bash it on the side, like so. So give it a bash on the side. Looking good.
Yes.
Now this, what we've created is our base cocktail. So what we want to do is we're going to serve this one in a tall, thin glass, if you have one, on fresh ice. You don't want to get too much ice in there, maybe about half full again. Perfect.
Like that.
Yeah, wonderful. And there's no particular way to pour this one. All we want to make sure is that we leave about an inch on top to float some ginger beer. So try and get as much of the cocktail in as you can, just making sure that we leave enough space to float our ginger beer.
Are we straining?
So you
We're going to strain this one, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, wonderful. Let's have a look at yours, Sanjeev.
I think I used quite a big glass, so.
So what you should do is, do you have enough ice for the next cocktail if you were to put some more in?
There's more in there.
Yeah, just a little bit, and that'll bring the level up slightly. And we're going to crack open
it up with quite a lot of ice left. I'm so glad I ran to the neighbours to get more.
And what we're going to do now is we're going to pour the ginger beer so that it floats on top. We don't want to overpower the drink with ginger beer, so it's not a lot, it's just a little dash. But you want to pour this one extremely slow. So a small trickle of ginger beer on top. And as you can see on screen, what's happening is that it floats on top if you pour it slow enough.
Okay.
Like so. And this resembles how my arms look like in summer when I wear a t-shirt with no sun cream.
That?
Yeah, really good. Nice. Love it. So
Oh, what lovely colours.
looks cool, doesn't it? This is a good one for your Instagram. You've got a nice little gradient going on. But before we take any pictures, we are gonna get our dehydrated lime wheel. So one of these guys. And we're gonna sit this or position it on top. I like to have this so that it's kind of sticking out. They look quite cool. So half sticking out, and that is how we serve the gingers don't tan.
Like this.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Well done, guys. Nice.
brilliant. Thank
Cheers.
you. Cheers. Cheers,
Cheers.
everyone.
Ooh.
So a couple of different ways to enjoy this one. If you are a big fan of gin like Mina, then you can sip away at this one as it is, and you're going to notice a slightly more intense cocktail as you go down. If you don't enjoy sort of gin on its own or the sort of juniper berry kind of taste, I would mix it, and then you're going to get a bit more of a balance of flavors. But I think this one looks pretty cool with the gradient.
The thing about gin, though, is I love gin. It just does not love me. That's the thing.
But is it mostly ginger beer at the top if you don't stir it?
Yeah, so if you don't stir it, you're going to get a bit of a blend as you go down.
But if you stir
What you
it,
can do is have a few sips and then give it a little stir so you get the best of both worlds and you can taste how it tastes.
if you don't stir it, you get quite gingery, don't you? And then
What's that, sorry?
when you don't stir it, you get
Yeah.
quite a lot of ginger beer, and then you have to kind of sip right down.
And this is another cocktail that's quite versatile in the sense of you can swap out the gin. My preference, if you were going to swap out the gin, would be rum. It works really well with like a nice spiced rum or a bit more of like a dark rum. This works quite well as a neutral spirit cocktail.
That will definitely work. They all work well with tequila, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everything we've chosen for today's thing.
Yeah.
Because the ginger, I have tequila with ginger.
Mm.
I think it's a wonderful.
I do like a dark and stormy, so
Yeah, if you like a dark and stormy, I think you'll like this one.
the lime in it as well. So yeah.
Oh, it's lovely that. Very
And
different.
so is rum your sort of go-to drink, Sanjeev?
Not go to, but I do like it.
What would you say your go-to drink would be?
Probably at the minute it's probably gin.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like a gin and tonic, or
Yeah, I mean, I had a really lovely gin and tonic a few months ago, and I asked, "What's the gin?" They said, "No, it's the tonic." They said it was Fentiman's tonic,
okay.
and and it's really hard to get hold of Fentiman's tonic for some reason. So always trying to have
That's
something.
right, as well.
And I'm a big fan of Harris gin.
Yes, beautiful.
I know it's particularly it's deliberately hard to get a hold of, but
Yeah.
Harris gin and Fentiman's tonic is lovely, and all these flavoured gins. I mean, I have to say that pretty much as well.
And I like a Hendrix gin
Oh yeah.
with a Fever Tree, the Mediterranean tonic. It's really nice.
Nice.
Hendrix gin gets a lot of good feedback.
It's really lovely. It's very
That was
nice.
a joke about Jimi Hendrix, but that's fine.
I know.
So we've done the Mary Jane, which is a bit of an aperitif before a meal. We've done the Gingers Don't Tan, which I would class this as a bit of a rooftop bar, nice light kind of cleanser, refreshing kind of cocktail. And the next cocktail that we're going to do is a garden party drink. So this is one that's short, packs a punch, lots of flavors going on, and we don't actually require the shaker for this one. So we're going to keep the shaker to one side. You can rinse it out. If you're a bit of a clean freak and you want to rinse it out, then you can. However, just leave it if you don't want to. And get yourself one glass, a water glass or a tumbler.
Look, he's cleaning up now. We're not doing any cleaning up.
No, God, no. I'm going to take my Insta picture of a dirty surface. I want people to know that I worked.
Yeah.
So for the last cocktail, third and final, this one is called the Summer Sipper. And we are going to need our glass and we're going to need our second lime. Okay, so we have one whole lime that we've not used yet. And we are actually going to use the entire fruit for this one. So we're going to use the skin, the flesh, and the juice. And a little bit different to how we prepared it before, we really want to go overboard with the preparation. We want to extract as much flavor from the lime as possible. So if you've ever been to a country where they're making fresh caipirinhas or a mojito bar, you might see trays of limes, and guys quite unhygienically jumping up and down in the limes.
Yeah.
Now, that's what we're going to try and mimic without actually jumping up and down in the limes. So
Oh,
you're going
I was going to say, you first, Sanj.
you're going to place the lime on the hard surface, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to put both hands on top, and we're going to push our weight down on top of the lime, and we're going to roll it back and forth like we're kneading bread or pasta, okay?
That's how I normally do the lime, to get the flavour out and the juice.
So really, this is something that you should really do if you're cooking with limes always, to just get as much flavour out as possible.
That's
And
what you do on MasterChef, always.
we want to do this. If you do this hard enough, you should smell the lime. It should become very fragrant.
Yeah.
Before you even pick it up off the surface, I can already smell mine.
Mm.
Your hands will probably feel a bit waxy. That's another good sign if your hands are feeling a bit waxy. The idea is you're doing this until the lime is squeezable between two fingers very easily. If you don't have that yet, then it's not ready. So keep it going until you do have that. So
It's
did
like
you hear
rolling patties.
Yeah.
nice soft lime like
Yeah.
that?
Like that.
Also shake it as well. See if you can hear that lime juice. Listen really closely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I'm just funning with you guys. You just look a bit stupid when you do that.
That one.
I always like that one.
Mina, can you hear the sea? Can you hear the sea? Mina?
Can you hear Brazil?
I once told someone if you hold the Danish pastry to your ear, you can hear Copenhagen, and they bloody believe.
You can hear Hans Christian Andersen singing.
What I would say is if you finish your Mary Jane and the second cocktail, you might believe that you can hear the lime, but you definitely won't be able to. So we've got a nice soft lime, which means it's ready to go. So we're now going to gently cut it in half. You don't want to squeeze and cut it too hard, otherwise you're going to lose all that juice. So gently cut it in half.
Yes.
And then cut each half into half again. So how many segments should you have?
Oh.
Oh.
Nice. Nice.
Is that a maths question?
You wouldn't believe how many people get that wrong.
I think after probably quite a few cocktails, that's quite a hard maths question.
Yeah.
I've got a degree in cocktail maths.
So we should have 4 segments. So
Yes.
4 chunks. And what we're going to do for this drink is we're going to take 3 of those and we're going to individually squeeze and drop them into the glass.
3.
3.
Squeeze the juice in.
Squeeze the juice in.
And drop it in.
And drop in. And this is very important that we are trying to get as much juice out as possible.
Yeah. And what about the bits?
And the bits and the skin. So we've created all that lovely flavour of the zest. And some people make the mistake in just squeezing the juice and leaving the fruit out. But the zest holds the flavour that we need for this drink.
But they're just bonkers, aren't they?
And then once you've done that step, you should have something that looks like this.
So you got 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
With the juice and the bits and the bits
The
of
juice, the bit, in.
The bits!
You didn't say the bits.
The bits!
And once you've got your squished up lime at the bottom, we're going to top the glass with ice. So we're going to fill the glass with as much ice as we've got left.
How much ice?
Top the glass with as much ice as you have left.
Like that.
Perfect. And because we're not using a shaker, we're going to do a technique called building the drink. So we're going to build the ingredients on top of one another. So we've done our first ingredient, which is the lime. The second ingredient is the rest of our vodka. And what we're going to do, as we're not shaking, we're relying on the ice diluting slightly whilst we make the drink. So it mellows the drink out. So that means when we're pouring the vodka, instead of just turfing it straight in, we're going to pour it very slowly, covering all of the ice. And you should hear the ice moving around and starting to melt.
Mm.
Perfect. Expertly poured, guys. Loving the height as well, Mina.
Thank you.
And after the vodka, we've just got one ingredient that we've not used yet, which is the watermelon syrup. So nothing says quite more like summer than watermelon syrup. And again, a nice slow pour. So you're going to.
The smell is amazing. Like being on holiday.
It might be my favourite flavour, actually, watermelon.
I love watermelon.
Real lovely flavour, especially to play around with in drinks. It's actually not a very common ingredient. Normally what you find is that kind of like greeny melon that you see in Madeira. This is quite uncommon, is the watermelon flavour. What you'll probably notice is that the syrup almost sits at the bottom.
Yeah.
And because we're not shaking this one, you need to help the dilution process ever so slightly. So what we're going to do is, usually this style of drink is served in a hot country. So by the time I've served this across the bar, the atmosphere and the climate has already melted the ice. However, we don't have that in Scotland. So
in Scotland or in the northwest of England.
Yeah, in the UK in general. So that's why we've given you this back scratcher, is because we're going to help the dilution process. We're going to sit the spoon part to the bottom so you can hear it touching the bottom of the glass.
Yeah.
You're going to put one hand flat on either side, and you're going to stir as hard as you've ever stirred before. And if you make a mess, then that's even better. That means you're doing it hard enough. So give it a real... And because we're doing this so hard, the ice is beginning to melt and mellow the drink out a bit. The flavors are starting to mold together, and you should have something that looks a bit like this. It's got a bit more cloudy. The pink is evenly dispersed. And now we're going to do a little taste test. So have a little taste.
Nice. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Punch.
That is brilliant.
And to finish this one off, it's best served, you guessed it, with more ice. So nice big scoop of ice on top. We're going to create a nice little nest. Nice nest of ice on top. And just to polish the drink off, we've got one segment of lime left. And I like to just give it an extra little burst of freshness by squeezing the lime over the top of the ice. Like so. And then we've given you a second dehydrated lime as well. So another one of these. So you can garnish quite nicely with that. Sit it in the side. And you can, if you don't want to keep this to waste, you can also sit that in the drink for a bit of colour. However, there we have the summer sipper. Cheers.
Beautiful.
Cheers.
Yes.
Slice.
Another nice ingredient to play around with this one is some fresh mint. So when you're making this one, you can throw some fresh mint in. It also goes really well as a garnish. So what I sometimes do if I'm serving this one up for some friends is I put some fresh mint in there and I serve it on top too.
Nice.
And it just gives it that extra summer kind of vibe.
I made a salad the other day, watermelon, mint and feta.
Oh yeah, nice.
With this drink.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Cheers.
But cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
So I want to get your guys' opinion. I want to know which out of the three was your favorite and why. So I'm just going to remind you of each of the drinks. I'm going to remind you what the names were and what was in them just very briefly. So it started with the Mary Jane, and we did the vodka and the vermouth. We did the very technical dry shake and wet shake. And then we attempted the flaming of the orange. Need a bit more practice on that, I'm afraid, guys. And that was called the Mary Jane, okay? We then moved on to the Gingers Don't Tan, which is a bit of a palate cleanser, nice, light, refreshing drink. And that was gin-based, that one. And then, of course, lastly, we finished with the Summer Sipper. We got rid of the shaker, and we built the ingredients, and then give it a little stir. And nice little garden summer party drink, this one. So, let me know. Mina, you can start. What was your favorite one?
Well, as I'm trying them again. See, I think I preferred, and I don't drink vodka at all, ever. But I actually prefer the two end ones, the vodka ones, the watermelon one. I mean, I think that probably isn't going to quite taste because it's quite unique, but I think it's wonderful. And I think the orange one is just fabulous. So I think they're all brilliant, but if I had to choose, I'd probably go for the watermelon one.
Okay, interesting.
Goodbye.
Sanjeev?
I can't remember the first one. So I would be very happy to receive any of them in a cocktail bar or at the Queen's garden party or even Camilla Parker Bowles garden party. But they're all flavours I like: lime, watermelon, raspberry. But the first one won it for me, the Mary Jane.
Yeah.
It was glorious. I mean, the egg white lifted it as well. I've recently introduced to amaretto sour.
Oh yeah, nice.
Which a pal recommended it in a restaurant. I said, "What, really? Amaretto and lemon juice and egg white?" And it was beautiful. And it just get that extra texture with the egg white, I think. And just I've always loved orange, so yeah, first one for me. And I'd say definitely the Mary Jane for me.
And I think that orange one, just because where we are in the world right now, it's a very uplifting. The smell of it, and it's just preparing it itself, the orange.
It uses all the senses. You see the fire, you smell the orange, and you've got this really cool...
really uplift you if you're in a place.
But what's worth bearing in mind as well is that cocktails are always used for different occasions. So as I said, before a meal, during a meal, at the end of a meal, you can use them for anything. And if we were to repeat this tomorrow and do it in the reverse and have this one first, this one second, and this one third, you're probably going to notice different tastes because your taste buds are so confused right now with all the strong flavors going on. But really, thanks for joining. Thanks for making some cocktails. You're all brilliant. I'm glad you enjoyed the Mary Jane.
Oh, thank you very much. What a treat as well.
Yeah.
Nice thing to do.
I'm going to give it to my children now.
Yes. I'm not going to drive the car. I thought I'd be able to just drive and go meet my friend and my husband down the pub, but I don't think I'll be driving it. But it's so lovely. What a nice thing to do.
Thanks very much for joining us on the Great Chaz dinner party. It was an absolute pleasure to be joined with Mina and Sanjeev, and we made 3 really different cocktails and they absolutely nailed it. So thanks again, guys, for joining us.
Cheers.
Cheers. Slange.